If you remember, quite recently we moved into this caravan because we'd been evicted from his house. No fault of his own, it was the economy, the cost of living, which is now forcing landlords to sell property rather than rent it. So we got a Section 21 eviction order, which was very stressful because you only get 8 weeks to find somewhere to live. And although we went down the route of the council, they weren't any help whatsoever. So with only 2 weeks left before we had to be out of property and basically homeless, I decided to buy this caravan. At least we've got a roof over his head for now. It wasn't something we planned on doing, it was the only choice at that time that we had. And we've been here a few weeks. There is a lot of confusion about what you can and what you can't do in a static caravan. So I'm basically going to explain exactly what you can do and what you can't do when it comes to trying to live in a static caravan in UK. As you'll have known on previous videos, we were open that we could stay long term in this caravan, but apparently it doesn't work like that. There's more rules and regulations than you think, and one of them rules is even if the site that you're on is open 12 months a year, it doesn't mean that you can stay in that caravan which you own for 12 months a year. You're paying your site fees for a year, and they can range from anywhere from £3,000 to £6,000. But even though you've paid for the full 12 months pitch, you still can't stay in it for 12 months. And the reason for that is because it's classed as a holiday park, not a residential park. If it was a residential park, you can then stay in it all year long. But those places are a lot more expensive. So once again, we've kind of run into a bit of a wall. You're not actually allowed to stay more than 60 consecutive nights, because then you're in breach of that contract. So you can stay for 60 nights, but then you have to go. And you are allowed to then come back after a break. How many times you can actually do that is a bit of a mystery. It doesn't explain the finer details of that. So your maximum stay on a non-residential holiday site, even though you've paid the ground rent for the year, even though it might state it's open 12 months of the year, is 2 months at a time. And because you're doing that, it's not classed as a permanent address. So in answer to other people's questions, no, you don't pay council tax on these vans because you're not actually living in them full time. You have to have another address or a care of address, which can be friends or family, and they'll receive council tax bills for that property. But if you move into it, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't affect that bill. But you could live with friends and family for a short while, and then you'd be classed as a lodger. We've got a couple of really good friends that we've known since school, and they're right at the other side of the country. But they also live near the coast, but in an house. So after having a quick word with them, they agreed that once we reach the 60-day period, we're quite welcome to go and stay with them because they've got plenty of room. And in return, I also told them if they fancy a change of scenery, they're quite welcome to come and stay in this caravan for as long as they want to, providing it doesn't exceed 60 days. So basically a mutual agreement of an house swap, if you like, but an holiday in a different part of the country for both parties, but at no expense whatsoever. You could also stay with friends, stay with family, or go on an holiday somewhere if that's what you want to do, as long as you're out of this property for a set amount of time. And then you could, if you really wanted to, rent this property out because it's an holiday home, but you'd have to find suitable people for that. You just don't want any Tom, Dick and Harry coming into your caravan and abusing it, because that could happen. So you could pick and choose. So my idea was, if I've got friends or family that want to do a swap just to break up the time that we're in this van, I'm quite happy to do that because I do know they'll look after it, and vice versa. So we have still got some options, and at least by doing it that way, you've basically got a lodging address or a care of address, which means you can have all your mail delivered to them if they're happy with that, or any parcels that you might need. There's actually no legal requirement in UK that you have to have a permanent address. You could basically bounce from one place to another, that's entirely up to you, but you're not required by law to have a fixed permanent address. And to be fair, if you've got something like this and you're paying all that money in site fees every year, then you don't want to be paying for a flat somewhere as well on top of that, because that takes the edge off it altogether. So we've decided that's what we're going to do. We can just bounce from one place to another, have one place, which is as very good friends that we've known for so long, as his main address. And this then becomes an holiday home. But if you just take a little break, you can just come back and then you can stay for another 60 days and so on. But all the time that that's happening, you know that you've got good people in this property when you're not in it, and they'll also water all my plants outside. So although it's not quite what I was hoping for, the laws between park homes and residential homes are clearly outlined. And it goes the same if you're on a site with a tourer. Except if you're in a tourer, you can only legally stay on that site in your own caravan, even though you've paid fees for 28 days. So less than half of what you could in one of these. They just assume you're going to constantly rent that property out and get your site fees back so you can pay them, plus that extra % at the end of every single year when they put it up a little bit at a time. Some sites, I've heard, can raise them by 40%. This place doesn't do that. It might go up 3% over a year, because 40 is completely unacceptable. Why would anybody do that? But that's the bigger companies, and they're powered by nothing more than greed. But on the upside, we have bought this van outright. We've paid the year's fees in full. The water's free, and the gas and electric is as you use it. And as I've mentioned before, if you want a gas bottle, you just pay for one, they bring it and they hook it up, so you're all sorted. And you can do that 7 days a week as well. There's not set days that they do that, it's whenever you need one. I think another thing that's definitely worth mentioning is I did read online that if you're in a caravan on a site, but you actually work on the site for the people that run it, in some instances, they will extend the amount of time that you're allowed to stay because you're working for the company itself. How long that is, I don't know. Whether these guys do that, I don't know. So that is something else to consider. Would they allow us to stay for longer if we actually worked for the site itself? Even if they did, I would assume that that would only be seasonal. So still at some point, maybe late autumn, early winter, you'd be back in that same situation. But it would give you quite a bit of breathing space, so it's definitely worth asking. So not the perfect situation to be in, but even though we've had quite a few mixed comments about what we're doing, you still have to bear in mind that if it was left to the powers that be, by now we'd have been homeless, we'd have been on the street. So I still think, even though this was the only option available to us because of the circumstances, I still think it was the best option. Because once you've bought and once you've paid, there's nothing more that you need to do for a full year except disappear for a couple of weeks every few months. So I hope that's answered a lot of people's questions concerning what we're doing and how the law lies with that. And if you're interested in seeing more videos on UK caravanning, then please hit that subscribe button, press that notifications bell, and I'll see you next time. You take care.